Hello, North Central Washington, and welcome to Network TV. I'm your host, Jenny Rojanasatian, and it's great to be back in the NCW Life Channel studio with you today. A little bit about Network TV. We're a variety show featuring different guest speakers on technology, entrepreneurship, and STEM education topics. You never know who you're going to meet on Network TV, and I'm so excited that today we've got two very different guests. We've got Larry LaMotte from ReCapurit. Larry is a local entrepreneur with a really exciting technology company. He was on the air with me a couple years ago, so you can check out that back episode online. After Larry comes on air, we'll have Dave Winters with Icicle LLC, and Dave is really passionate about the blockchain, Metaverse, cryptocurrency, and educating people on that new technology platform. Don't go too far. I'll be right back here on air on Network TV. And welcome to Networked. I'm excited to welcome back our first guest on today's episode, Larry LaMotte of ReCapurit. Welcome back to the show.
Jenny, thank you for having us. I'm excited to be here and have a little recap on what we talked about before.
Absolutely. Well, some of our guests may not have had the opportunity to see the first episode where we introduced you, your company, and background. So maybe we'll start a little bit back at the basics. Tell me about ReCapurit. What is your company?
Okay, thanks for asking.
Yes.
Well, ReCapurit is an online marketplace built exclusively for recaptured building materials and architectural salvage. We are tackling the single largest producer of waste in the United States and the world. Number one.
That's a pretty big problem. Yeah, number one in terms of waste. But why is it an industry that has so much waste? Tell me a little bit about the systemic problems inside of construction that lead to so much material waste every year.
Okay. There are two sides of it, the construction side of it and the demolition or deconstruction side of it. On the construction side of it, it is actually necessary to buy more materials than you need. So traditionally and systemically, the construction industry needs to bring in about 10-15% more stuff than they're actually going to use, and that, generally speaking, not entirely, but generally speaking, goes in a dumpster. Okay. So that's on the construction side. On the demolition and deconstruction side, when a building's life comes to an end, it's generally speaking, demolished. It's blown up, it's knocked down, it's heavy equipment, it's wrecking ball, it's dynamite, and it then finds its way to, generally speaking again, the landfill, the dump.
Yeah. So all these products are just reusable or sometimes brand new and just making their way into the landfill. I imagine because contractors don't have time at the end of a project to say, oh, I have 10 windows left and 10 stacks of tile, right?
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. They accumulate it, but then they often say things to us about that. They're like, well, that's not really our job. That's not what we do. We're not warehousers. We're not, we don't warehouse it. We don't, we don't know how to sell it. We don't want to manage it. We just want to get rid of it. It becomes a line item on the accounting and it goes away and it goes to the dump. And the horror stories of the value of some of the things that have found their way into landfills, I hear, is astonishing. So there's a lot of sides to your business. It's really a pro-environment, like you're trying to help the environmental impact of what's being wasted, right? But also there's a value, I'm sure, for these contractors in redeeming the stockpile of stuff they've had. There is huge value in it. Yeah. They're just not able or perhaps willing to capture it on the construction side. On the demolition side, it is just efficiency. It's all about the numbers. It's all about the time, the expeditiousness. It is to knock it down and throw it away, as opposed to dismantling it from the top down and assembling those materials to be then distributed out into some supply chain that really doesn't really exist today very pervasively. Yeah. And so that's part of our exercise too, to help stimulate that supply chain to receive those materials and to make good use of them and to put them into larger projects, which is our ultimate goal, so that they have a place to live, reside, and become part of what then becomes the circular use of materials.
So tell me how ReCapurit functions in terms of your online marketplace. Okay. So
you've got a contractor with excess materials. Are they selling through your site, or are you purchasing the materials? What does that look like?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's a good question, good takeoff point. So our first sellers are those that actually handle the materials of salvage and deconstruction now.
Okay.
There would need to be, in the case of construction companies, there would need to be sort of an intermediary, somebody in between us and them that handles the materials and does what I said. You know, they don't want to warehouse them. They don't want to catalog them. They don't want to store them. They don't want to handle them multiple times. So they throw them away.
Right.
Somebody would need to do that in order to then sell them on our platform. So we are looking at ways to facilitate a business model to make that happen, but that's not happening yet. So we're going to those that already have the salvage materials. They're selling them in stores like Habitat for Humanity's Restores.
Okay.
Yeah, so they've already got the materials, they already sell them, but typically they don't sell much, if any, online. They sell through a retail model.
Okay.
Here we come with 21st century, and you know, it's time to sell on that. Well, the COVID experience actually got people a lot more familiar with buying online, and it got salvage sellers to become more proactive about being able to sell online, but still only a fraction of them can actually do a transaction. We can do a transaction. We can calculate shipping, we can do everything from a tiny little cabinet knob up to truckloads.
I was about to say, the shipping piece, I imagine in construction, it's not, you know, a wearable, it's not a t-shirt, right? It's going to have a much different shipping kind of cost based on weight. And then I imagine really big sizes depending on what you're recapturing, right?
Yes, thank you for using that.
Yes,
Love
recapturing.
That.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit how that piece works. Is recapture sending out fairly large items right now, or was that the plan to scale in that way?
So I'll talk to that about the shipping mechanisms we have built into the system.
All right.
So there's parcel size. That means United States Post Office and UPS and other such shippers. It's got to be in a box. It's got to be 150 pounds or less. Parcel size. You get an automatic shopping cart experience on our site that, you know, calculates it and gives you options, you know, like, do you want it in 7 days, you want it in 2 days, that kind of thing. So that's all built in for that size. When you go up to the next size, that which is handled by one person in a forklift, that's kind of our rule of thumb. Yeah. Then it's called LTL, less than truckload, and that has another mechanism that gets a price for that. Big stuff, what I say is bigger than a grand piano. Think grand piano. There's that stuff too. Giant mantle pieces, big stuff. That goes into a third service, and that actually goes out to a marketplace of shippers. So you get a variety of bids on shipping that. So you can choose from that based on time, distance, price, and so forth.
So there's a lot of components to recapture it across the model. A lot of vendors you're bringing together to create this company. Yes. You've got some exciting plans for the future. I'd love to kind of maybe dive into there. What's ahead for ReCapurit?
Well, thanks again.
Yes.
I am kind of excited about that because COVID changed things for us. It made things different on our seller side. It made things very different on our buyer side. And so we have to respond and adapt too. I won't get into all the details of those, but what we've discovered is our growth was not at the rate that we had anticipated in 2019 when we're talking to them and they're all like, yeah, we're on, it's going to be great. 2021, when we really launched, a little more difficult. Right. So now with inflation and with interest rates, the financing world is waiting for the compression of valuations of startups. That doesn't feel good when you're a startup. Right. No. So that's a factor. So I said to our team, we got to think of things that we can sell. We can sell. So what do we have that we know other people want to know and need to know and would be willing to pay for? And out of that process came a new thing that we're going to use to stimulate the entire ecosystem we're a part of, and we call it the Deconstruction Policy Accelerator. Okay. So we are going to cities, counties, and municipalities, and we are offering our services to help them implement, to adopt sensible, well-crafted, time-implemented legislation, policy into their cities to steer stuff away from the dump and into reuse.
That's incredible. And from a systems process, that's going to have a huge impact.
We hope.
Across the U.S. That's exciting. Congratulations.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
On the move
Thank
to do that. And then I guess simultaneously you're growing that marketplace.
We're growing the marketplace.
Right.
We're actively doing that. We are just coming out of a funding round, so we got money that we're going to be putting into advertising and so forth for the marketplace specifically. For the DPA, the Deconstruction Policy Accelerator, we are. I am building that with a few of our team members, and we are receiving a miraculous reception in our audience out there, and we've got traction with 3 big cities already, so I'm kind of excited about that.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's huge. Well, Larry, we're winding down on time. How do people, if they're interested in learning more, where can they find you? For one.
Okay.
Yes.
Of course, they can always find us at recapurit.com.
Okay.
ReCapurit.com.
Perfect.
They can find me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to connect at Larry LaMotte, LaMotte. Find me on LinkedIn.
Awesome.
And that's probably the 2 best avenues I can offer at the moment.
Wonderful. Well, Larry, we're going to have a part 3 next
Okay.
year and hear how it's going with the municipalities and the work. Thanks so much for coming on
Oh,
here.
Jenny, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
It's been great to have you. Don't go too far, audience.
Okay.
I'll be right back with one more guest here on Network TV. And welcome back to part 2 of our Network TV episode today. Thrilled to have my next guest on air, Dave Winters with Icicle LLC. Welcome to Network TV.
Thanks. Good morning.
Yes, so glad to have you. Glad to have a fellow Coug.
Yes, go Cougs.
Go
Always got to
Cougs.
get that in.
I'm a Coug as well. My husband, who's watching the program, is a Husky, will be very sad about that reference, but that's too bad.
Bummer.
All right, bummer for him. So, Dave, so excited to have you on air. You are a Tech Alliance member. You've been really involved with our nonprofit and attending our events on technology. Before we kind of share a little bit about your background and blockchain, I'd love to just have the audience get to know you a little bit. So you you didn't grow up in Wenatchee area.
No,
okay.
no, I'm a transplant.
Okay.
Vancouver, Washington, grew up there. So still Washingtonian.
Yes.
But went to WSU. Yeah, I'll give this the quick thing because my resume is really long. So I'll make little tiny bits.
Right.
So WSU, went back to Portland, worked in the printing industry for about a decade, back in the dark ages of printing before all the technology. Made a move to Leavenworth with my wife. She's actually, she was born in Chelan, so she's a local.
Yeah.
Came here with no jobs. It was the adventure, no kids or anything. Forest Service, made gingerbread factory, at the gingerbread factory, made gingerbread houses. But got a great piece of advice from a friend who said, hey, you know, you're selling stuff, you're doing things, you should get paid. That's a good idea. And got into the financial services industry. So I got licensed to be a stockbroker and insurance agent and did that for about 10 years. Got disillusioned with the big corporation, went into the wine industry, which was a lot more fun, but there's not a lot of money. And had a friend that was a mutual friend and got me connected with somebody who is involved in crypto.
Okay.
So my first thing, drove over to Seattle for an event back before we were all doing Zooms.
Yeah.
And learned about this project that was going on. And that was getting my toe in the water. And from there, it's just kind of bloomed.
Well, you know, that's the cool thing about technology is you can come from any background. And I'm sure, like anything in life, varied experiences just, you know, you can bring new ideas with a rich background like yourself. So Bitcoin, that came out hot a couple years ago across the community with a lot of, obviously, Bitcoin mining, a lot of passion and from people being opposed and support. But I think ultimately for me, I saw a lot of confusion on what it was. So tell me, what is blockchain?
Okay, blockchain is just a ledger.
Okay.
And so your CPA keeps books and different things. The bad thing about a ledger is that it can be cheated. The blockchain can't be. Okay. It's electronic, it's immutable. There are a million copies of it. So if somebody wanted to cheat, they'd have to go to every single place where that is and make that change. So once something's in the blockchain, it's what it is from here on out.
And this ledger, you know, Bitcoin is just one utilization on blockchain, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, There are a lot of blockchains.
Okay,
actually.
perfect. Yes.
There's not just one blockchain out there.
Okay.
There are a ton of blockchains.
Okay.
And every coin, every token you see out there that people are mining, everything, that's a blockchain.
Okay.
There's a blockchain for, like, Walmart uses a lot of blockchains, and they track where the food comes from. And so if something's happening, if there's a problem with the food, they can go, okay, we know it started here. They can follow that chain all the way back to where it came from and find out what happened with that.
So this ledger isn't necessarily only financial currency. It can also be traceability of products.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And it will be in every part of your life, whether you like it or not. It's coming, so you better learn about it. Houses, property will be listed. So at some point, sorry for all the title people out there, but once everything gets onto the blockchain, there's no question about the title of a piece of property and what those boundaries are and all those things.
Right. It's all moving into that direction.
Correct. Yes.
So now, cryptocurrency. Let's just chat a little bit about that. You also spend time educating people on crypto. How would you define, a cryptocurrency?
Okay. I'm going to tell you what it isn't first.
Great.
Okay.
Okay.
It's not this.
Okay.
A cryptocurrency is not money. Okay. Money.
I can't go to an ATM and pull out the cash.
Well, it's electronic. You can't. There's a way to do it, but you have to actually think about it. It is the technology. Crypto is that technology.
Okay.
And once you understand that, it gets a lot easier to kind of get your arms around the whole thing, and to tame that technology. And so it's also not this. I brought you a little token. This is a Bitcoin, but it's not.
Yeah.
You will never actually hold one in your hand, a true one. It's all electronic.
Right.
And so what happens is people get those things confused, know. But Bitcoin, it's all electronic. It's a way of keeping track of where the money is. It goes back to that ledger.
Yeah. And then coming from someone who was in the financial industry, I guess the price is raised based on demand, right? Like the pricing of Bitcoin was pretty sensational a couple of years ago. And you've got, this is kind of a one-off story. You've got that guy who dumped his desktop computer in a landfill with his ledger on it and is spending hundreds of thousands of trying to recover that because he can't just go to the bank and pull it out. It's all on the ledger.
It's all on you to take care of things. Okay, you have to be careful. You have to be cautious, and that's why education is the key. I'll go the whole FTX thing, if you don't mind. We can go there real quick.
Of course, yeah.
People lost a lot of money. Kevin O'Leary, a guy who you think, Mr. Wonderful, who
a very famous investor,
who should know all the ins and outs. Now, nobody knew exactly what was going on with it, and then a lot of people did their due diligence, and still issues happened. But the people that lost their coins made the mistake of not owning the keys to their own wallet. They, on a centralized exchange like that, you don't own. You just put something there. So it's like your car keys. You wouldn't just leave your car parked with the keys in it, right? Because somebody might steal it. So you keep your keys with you because you want to keep your car. It's that same kind of thing in a decentralized wallet. I know we're getting a little
technical,
but that's why you got to learn this stuff. You hold the keys, so it's like a safe deposit box, but better because the bank still has the other key in your bank deposit box. So that's what happened. That's the whole thing comes down to getting educated and not being afraid of it.
I was about to say, there's a lot of fear around change in technology, change in how we do financial transactions. So what is your advice to someone who's watching today going, I don't know about this stuff?
Don't just go on the internet and follow everything that you see. There are a zillion YouTube videos out there, and you have to do your due diligence. You have to talk to people that are involved, see who they follow, find good mentors. Get yourselves in good groups, find your tribe kind of situation. I'm on a call 5 days a week with like-minded people who one person's leading the talk, and we're learning every day because everything's changing so fast. But also people are bringing ideas. And so we're finding opportunities out there because they're everywhere.
Right. If someone wants to connect with you, Dave, how can they learn more?
Just go to icicledave@gmail.com.
Okay.
Send me a quick message, and no obligation,
Yeah.
and those
Yeah.
kind of things. But I'm just really passionate about wanting people to understand what's going on. There's a huge opportunity here right now. Anybody, if you have a phone, internet access, and the willingness and desire to learn, you can be successful, no matter where you are, what color you are, how old you are, what your gender is.
Yeah.
It's the biggest opportunity we've ever had in this transition of wealth.
Yeah, in this new space that we're forging. Well, Dave, I'm excited to share with our audience that we are going to be doing a blockchain panel in May. You're going to be one of our speakers and heavily participating in that. So that's coming up this May 17th. Go to ncwtech.org. Because Dave will obviously be there as well. Reach out to you in email. In the meantime, it's been so fun having you on air. Learn more about all things happening in technology at ncwtech.org, and we'll see you next week. I want to invite you to watch Network TV. I interview different guests in technology, entrepreneurship, business, education, and nonprofit. It's a bit of a variety show, and you never know who you're going to meet or learn about on Network TV. Tune in weekly to the NCW Life channel.